Elon Musk is going after George Soros in perhaps the funniest way imaginable. The left's favorite talking point when it comes to George Soros is taking George Soros and all that he is and all that he does and ignoring his political activism and how he spends his money, and instead accusing anybody who identifies George Soros as a very influential liberal of being anti-Semitic. Why? Because George Soros is Jewish? Now, this obviously makes no sense whatsoever, because identifying George Soros as a very influential and very destructive leftist and enabler of leftists is based on his actions. That's not who he is, that's what he's doing. Or it's not an immutable part of his identity. I suppose it's part of his character, who he is, but it's not part of his religion. It's not part of his ethnic heritage, nothing like that whatsoever. But the left wants you to feel that you are a bad person if you criticize George Soros. So Elon Musk criticizes George Soros, and boy, oh boy, is the left going wild. Okay, George Soros. So let's start with the funny part of this story. It really cracks me up when Elon Musk, he has the largest Twitter platform in the world. I know that there are a couple of people who probably have a bigger following, but no one pays more attention to anybody's tweets on Twitter than we do to Elon Musk's tweets. He's the one right now. In a sense, he's like Donald Trump 2.0 in the sense that any little thing, even a smiley face or an eye roll emoji that he sends out, everyone's got notifications for Elon Musk's tweets. Everyone's listening to what he says. Well, he sent out this tweet. We're going to show this on the screen here about George Soros. You can see this. And he just says, Soros reminds me of Magneto. Now, my control room was kind enough. I'm going to tell a little story on myself here because I deserve it. My control room was kind enough to make sure that I pronounce this name correctly. It's an X-Men villain. So most of you probably knew that, but I don't watch those. I don't watch those movies. I don't really watch a lot of movies, but definitely not those. But he's a villain in this series, and Elon Musk compared George Soros to an X-Men villain, which you don't even have to be a fan of those movies. I think that's funny, and I don't even know who this character is. I did Google this character, and of course the left immediately comes out and says, oh, this makes Elon Musk anti-Semitic. This is an anti-Jewish slur, because apparently this villain in the Marvel series has Jewish origin. First of all, I don't know what that has to do with anything. I don't think that this villain is supposed to be a villain because he is Jewish. That's just part of the backstory of his character. I think that the villain in the series is supposed to be a Holocaust survivor, as is George Soros. Again, the Jewishness of the villain doesn't make him, that's not the reason that he's a villain. So I don't know how it could be anti-Semitic for Elon Musk to compare George Soros. It seems like it's just, I don't know, a very humorous, very funny comparison. But the left is freaking out about this. Someone on Twitter said, listen, Elon, and this wasn't one of the leftists that was absolutely freaking out on Musk, but said, listen, you should assume that George Soros has good intentions. A villain in a comic book series or in the Marvel universe doesn't have good intentions. They're a villain at heart. George Soros has good intentions. You should assume that. And Musk responded and said this. I'm going to show this on the screen too. He said, you assume they are good intentions. They are not. He wants to erode the very fabric of civilization. Soros hates humanity. Now you see that little on the screen there when we showed the tweet. You see that little row of numbers, the analytics underneath the tweet. When we pulled that tweet, it had been viewed over 7.3 million times. 7.3 million times. That is a lot of people to hear Elon Musk say that George Soros wants to erode humanity, or hates humanity. He wants to erode the fabric of civilization because he hates humanity. This is not actually that controversial of a statement to make. It's a harsh statement, but it's not controversial when you're analyzing somebody else's actions and the repercussions of their actions. And it's so obvious that George Soros does not care about humanity. He would not use his billions of dollars to fund the things that he funds if he wanted what's best for humanity. And he wouldn't do it with good intentions and continue doing it once he saw the fruit of his actions, if he indeed cared about humanity. So I think Elon Musk is exactly right here. But this is what I wanted to do today. So I was digging a little bit into this. I was digging a little bit into some numbers and statistics about George Soros and what he's done with his money, what he's done with his Open Societies Foundation. Now, Open Societies Foundation, let's stop right there for a second. Open Societies Foundation is a perfect example of what we talked about on the show earlier in the week as it related to Congresswoman AOC and her former aide, who is a self-avowed communist who's now on the executive committee of the New York Communist Party. She's a literal communist boss, and she used to work for AOC. And the point that we made earlier in the week is that, yes, the aide to AOC, at the time that she was working for AOC, admitted that she was a communist. AOC herself has never said, oh, I am a communist, I am a Marxist. But the point of that was, well, you don't have to say that you're a communist to be a communist. You don't have to admit that you're a Marxist to be a Marxist. If you adhere to Marxist ideology, then that's evidence based on your behavior, based on your policy action or your policy preferences, based on your actions, and oftentimes based on your words as well. And it's perfectly appropriate to deduce that someone is behaving as a communist, that someone is a Marxist, based on the totality of how they behave, without them identifying as a Marxist, without them identifying as communist. And this is true of George Soros. There's been a lot of accusations over the years that George Soros is this or that and the next. He's a socialist, he's a communist, he's a Marxist, but it's always relegated by the left. It's always relegated to the corner, those accusations. They're belittled, they're demeaned. Anybody who partakes in that analysis and comes to the conclusion that George Soros is in fact a Marxist is told that they are an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist. And so what I want to do right now is I want to set the record straight. George Soros obviously is a Marxist. And Open Society Foundation is the first clue to this. Because what does that mean? Open Society Foundation, an open society. What is an open society? An open society, if we look at how George Soros defines this, an open society means a society without borders. It means a nation that is not a nation state, a nation that doesn't secure their borders. He's quite literally calling for our society here in the United States to be open to anybody that wants to come in and out, to have this idea that you can just move around from nation to nation and not belong to any space, not belong to any community, not belong to any group of people, not belong to any country. And that is actually an idea, a Marxist idea that was articulated by Antonio Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci was the cultural Marxist who took the economic Marxism of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels and said, well, wait a second, in order to spark a Marxist revolution, it's not going to happen when the working class just gets mad at the ruling class and thus a revolution begins, because the working class is too comfortable in the cultural norms of the ruling class. And so in order to spark a Marxist revolution, we have to first attack culture. We have to first dismantle the cultural norms on which the working class relies. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.